little Brian who turned from a white baby to a black child. I don't know how the hell that happened, but whatever the hell, child, don't ask no questions. Just be along for the ride. I feel like everybody ain't gotta be family, man. They could just be acquaintances. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be reviewing and recapping the new Fast X movie. Now, I gotta say, I know people talk a lot of trash about the Fast and the Furious franchise, but I actually really like this franchise, and I actually really like Fast X. Now, I will say I stopped watching Fast and the Furious at the 7th one when Paul Walker died. The end of that movie was kind of depressing for me. That little song that plays at the end, knowing Paul Walker died. I don't know, it was just kind of depressive, and I kind of didn't want to go back to the franchise. And also just I just wasn't very drawn into it. However, last week I did binge the whole franchise to prepare for Fast X, and even Fast 9 that everybody trashes. I liked Fast 9. Now, I don't care about stuff being unrealistic and them having their own laws of gravity and physics. It's fun to me. So the Fast X story is actually a story where I like how they did it. Now, as they tend to do, it gets very convoluted, but just the core revenge story I actually like, and I like how they did it here. So basically, we have a throwback to Fast 5 where they took down Hernan Reyes. Remember the whole heist with the safe, which they give you a replay of in this movie. His son, Dante Reyes, is on a mission for revenge. He wants to tear up the family, make Dom suffer, bring everybody down. Now, we have seen the tear up the family, go against the family. We've seen that. We've seen the revenge. You know, Jason Statham, Charlize Theron, we was trying to, tear the family, kill people off. Yes, we've seen this revenge story. However, what I like about this story is I feel like where they got it wrong with Fast 9, they get it right here in Fast X. Pertaining to, in Fast 9, we get a throwback to Dom's origin story, how his dad died and him going to prison, beating the guy half to death. We got that origin story in the Fast and the Furious. But for Fast 9 to bring in their brother, they completely redo that origin story just to stick the brother in there. And for me personally, you don't throw back from your sequel, you don't throw back to a previous movie in your franchise and completely undo the information that the audience already knows to be true. So that really irked me with Fast 9. However, I feel like they get it right in Fast X. They go back and they show us the heist safe, the whole, Hernan Reyes being killed on the bridge by Dom, and they put in his son where we originally did not see him. However, they do not undo things that the audience knows to be true, and it actually makes sense how they fit the son in there. So that's why I like this attempt at the story, because I feel like they get it right here, where in other previous sequel they got it pretty wrong. Now, I enjoyed this movie overall, but of course there are going to be flaws. It's Fast and the Furious. Even though I enjoy this franchise, I completely understand a lot of the criticisms that this movie gets. One thing the biggest thing that really bothered me with this movie was I didn't see any previews. I didn't really see any marketing for this. I kind of wanted to go in blind. I feel like maybe that's why I was able to enjoy like Fast 8, Fast 9, Hobbs and Shaw, because I didn't see any previews for it. I just, popped it on last week. And if I did see previews, it was so long ago, I guess I just don't remember. However, I thought that would, enhance my experience. But going into Fast X, I had no idea that this was going to be a 2-part thing where they're like ending the franchise, supposedly. And my biggest annoyance is this did not need to be 2-part. The movie is over 2 hours long, and I have no problems with a long movie if you properly utilize your runtime. It feels like the movie is too long. It feels like they are dragging it out. And also just the type of story they're giving us here, baby, you could wrap that up in one movie. Like, it could have been wrapped up in one movie. And one of the biggest ways where I feel like they could have really chopped stuff out, and also another annoyance that I had with the movie is I can't stand movies in general where they scatter everybody and we got to follow a bunch of different people in a bunch of different places. And especially how they did it in Fast X, they edited crazy. They cut, we're engaged in one story and they cut it way too soon just to jump us back to another story, then cut that and jump us back to the story they previously cut, but it doesn't have the same impact because you are so into it and then they just snatched you out, put you in something else, and then threw you back. That was very annoying, particularly in different scenes with Letty in prison. We would just be jumping, and John Cena and Little Brian. So, two main side stories that I feel like we did not really need, they could have really cut out. One is the side story with, because y'all, we go everywhere. We are in California, Rio, Rome, Mexico, Peninsula. I don't know, child. We everywhere. And one side plot that we follow is Tej, Roman, and Masandi over in London. That's where they went, because we start in Rome, then they go to London. Now, I personally really love the character of Roman. Too Fast, Too Furious is really high on my list when it comes to the Fast and the Furious franchise. I feel like Tyrese and Paul Walker really carried that movie as well as that villain. But their chemistry, their dynamic, just the characters of Roman and Brian, loved it. And I feel like throughout the franchise, Tyrese's Roman is he's always a highlight for me. However, looking at Too Fast, Too Furious, looking at Roman throughout the franchise, he feels very stagnant. I hate that character and Tej's character has not really seen any type of growth in the slightest. It has come to the point where they are just caricatures of those characters. They are strictly here, particularly Tyrese, for comedic relief. And even though I did genuinely enjoy those scenes and those moments, I loved when Dante Reyes takes all of our money because he knows all the technical stuff and we trying to get stuff done, but we don't have any money to do it with. And Tyrese opens his shirt and got the money. He's like, these ain't Spanx, these banks. And he does his whole, I want my receipts. And Tyrese is like, not Tyrese. Ludacris is like, yeah, I want to see you get receipts from him. I genuinely laughed out loud. I had genuine, fun, entertaining moments with them in those scenes. But at this point, in this movie, in the making of part 2, in it feeling dragged out, we didn't need all that stuff. We could have cut that out. And it also got to the point where it was like, what are y'all even doing? Like, what's the point? What's the objective? What's going on over here? And it felt useless. They end up going to see Pete Davis. And we don't even get to do what the objective was and the agenda was when we went to Pete Davis, because he ended up trying to turn us into the agency, and it was like, what was even the point of going there? So then Han is like, well, I know somebody we could go to. Baby, why did we go to Pete Davis? Just so Ludacris and Tyrese could have their little silly fight, which I enjoyed. It was entertaining. I like when Tej slapped Roman. It was entertaining. It was funny. It was enjoyable, but it was unnecessary for us to put this in there just to make the movie long enough to say, oh, we're going to have a part 2. And the other side plot that I feel like we didn't need, it was unnecessary, we could have really chopped out. I want to get more in depth to the actual story and events, but I just want to go into the 2 stories that I feel like we really could have cut out. The second one is Uncle John Cena and Little Brian. Now, I love the scene when Mia and Little Brian are at the house when people after us, I don't know why the hell we just at the house that everybody know about, but whatever the hell, they're at the house. The agency comes in to try and get them, and Mia fighting her ass off. I was like, okay, Mia, girl, like we done seen her throw some hands and drive a few cars throughout the franchise, but I don't think we done seen her fight like this, child. She was knocking these men out. You hear me? But Uncle John Cena comes in, and side note, the freaking whole entire personality of Uncle John Cena, I can't remember his character name, the whole personality from Fast 9 to here, completely different. He a completely different character. I completely understand making amends, letting go of grudges, but for the entire fabric of the character to change is insane. But whatever the hell, this was a great scene. Uncle John Cena comes in, he doing a bunch of great fighting and wrestling moves, and there's even a crazy scene where he body slams one of the goons straight through the floor. This ain't no old decrepit house. This new construction. Remember, the house blew up and we rebuilt it. So this new construction. This ain't no house built in 1960 or something like that. He threw the man. Look. I'm not asking no questions. I'm just along for the ride, okay? He threw the man through the damn floor. Great scene. I really enjoyed this. I even enjoyed all the scenes they gave us with the banter and the dynamic between Little Brian, who turned from a white baby to a black child. I don't know how the hell that happened, but whatever the hell, child. Don't ask no questions. Just be along for the ride. White babies turning to black kids in the Fast and Furious universe. And it be tripping me out because it was really distracting me throughout the movie. I know I said don't ask no questions, but I was like, wait a minute, how does white baby turn into a black kid? And how racially ambiguous Dom with a white sister and a white brother and a Hispanic mama or grandma. Y'all, who was that lady? Who was that lady? I could have sworn that was Dom said that was his mama, his Little Brian's grandma, but my mama said no, that was the grandma, because they did call her Abuelita, which means grandma. But whoever the hell she is, whether she is Dom and Mia's grandma or mama, it makes no sense that 10 movies in, all of a sudden y'all got a grandma or a mama. Where she been? When we first meet Dom and Mia, they living in the house by themselves. In 10 movies, we ain't never seen no blood relatives of them. Where she come from? But anyway, I lost my train of thought because I started talking about all this mess. But okay. Oh yeah, Little Brian and Uncle John Cena's trip. Now, yes, I actually enjoyed their dynamic, their banter. When Little Brian gets excited because he think the real nice car is Uncle John Cena's, but really it's the other one. However, we could have cut a lot of this out. We did not need to see their entire trip. They tell us we're going to meet your dad at this certain spot. Great. We could have hopped in the car and then popped back up at the meeting spot. We did not need to see them stop at the gas station. We need to change clothes. Go to the airport. Put some goons inside the bathroom, inside the airplane. It was very unnecessary to make this a part 2. We could have cut all that out, popped up at the meeting spot where Dom was supposed to be meeting us, and man, we could have wrapped this up in one movie. We could have cut all that out. Okay, so that's that one of my biggest issues. Okay, one more biggest issue before I go into the actual recap and breakdown of the movie. So the villain, like I said, is Hernan Reyes' son, Dante Reyes, played by Jason Momoa. And I gotta say, he irked my nerves so bad, it almost made me not like this movie. Like, it almost ruined my experience of this movie. Now, I feel like maybe he was trying to go for like or I would have preferred a performance more along the lines of like Chris Tucker in Fifth Element, even though he wasn't a villain, but like that type of flamboyance, over the top meets, Nicolas Cage in Face Off meets Jack Sparrow meets Heath Ledger the Joker, wrap all that up. But this, I enjoy a flamboyant, over the top, zany insanity to my villain. But this felt more like an annoying younger sibling. Like when he would be sticking his tongue out at people and saying, "You butthole." I'm saying like that sound like a 9-year-old. Like it was irking my nerves so bad. What I will say though is I feel like Jason Momoa, maybe even more so than the other actors, completely understood the assignment. He understood the type of movie he was in, the Fast and the Furious, ridiculous, over the top universe. And I will give it to him that anytime Jason Momoa is on screen, he completely takes over the scene. I mean, even from Vin Diesel, which we're going to get into Vin Diesel, because baby, I used to love you, Vin. I don't know what you're doing now. Bro. But Jason Momoa completely takes over every scene he's in. The only scene he couldn't steal was when he was in the same scene with Charlize Theron, because Charlize Theron is motherfucking Charlize Theron, and she gonna hold her own. But he really had a presence and a dynamic. But man, he got on my motherfucking nerve. And then I was confused when he do the whole thing in Rome. Baby, your daddy died. You supposed to be getting revenge. Why you act like you having fun? I feel like I'm supposed to be mad. I'm supposed to be upset. My dad dead. Why are you having fun? Which they say he, Looney Tune, and they go through that whole thing, but it still irked me, and I just really hated his performance. Like, I hated it. Oh my God. Y'all, when I say it damn near ruined my experience with the movie, it damn near ruined my experience with the damn movie. Okay, so those are my main, biggest annoyances and negatives when it comes to Fast X. So now let's just get into the complete breakdown of the movie. Now, we start off at a family barbecue. Where else the hell we gonna be? And y'all, I know, but I actually like the whole family theme and everything that they always go for. Maybe because I grew up always at a motherfucking family barbecue, a cookout, a crab ball, but I be down with it. I like that aspect. I like that commonality and that thread throughout the franchise. Now, like I said, we randomly throw in the Abuelita. I don't know where she came from. I don't know where she been, but she here now. And y'all, was I tripping? I feel like she came out of the house next door. Don't tell me she living next door, y'all. Did I read that wrong? Ain't that where she came from? In the scene, she walked from the house next door, but whatever the hell. Now, I will say, the Fast and the Furious franchise, the dialogue is not the most top tier. It has always been pretty cheesy. Y'all, if y'all go back and watch that first, the Fast and the Furious, that is just so cheesy. It's so cheesy. However, man, they really hammed up the whole family thing in this one. I'm talking about, it was so on the nose. It was a little like, okay, y'all hitting, it was like fun cheesy before, and now y'all just hitting like cheesy, like not good cheesy. They really hammed it up in this movie. So the whole situation is, we have I thought he was the new Mr. Nobody, but now we got another new Mr. Nobody. But we have Scott Eastwood, who honestly feels a little useless. There are a few people who feel like they just tried to jam pack into this movie, but Tyrese's character Roman is doing his leadership thing, and they're basically going off on a mission that is actually a setup. And we get this really great scene, and that was one thing that I didn't like with Fast 8, was I felt like they kind of underutilized Charlize Theron. I really wanted to see her in some action. And then they had her just in the box in like Fast 9. So, well, maybe those are spoilers. But if we're here at Fast X, I'm going to presume you seen the other ones. I don't know, child. Maybe not. I'm sorry. So in this Fast X, we actually get to see some action from Charlize Theron, and it was top tier. It was so good. So Dante Reyes is able to just infiltrate what she had, which I didn't buy it. I know they tried to spin us a tale, but I didn't buy that Charlize Theron, that character, I can't think of her character name, but that character that we saw so savvy, so tech savvy, so smart with her hidden airplane in the sky in the previous movie can really get infiltrated by Dante Reyes. I don't buy it, but whatever the hell, he infiltrates her. And not only is he able to infiltrate where she's located, he is able to get information on her entire goon squad. And he holds their family, loved one, your favorite dog, whatever you love, that favorite retro pair of Jordans, whatever he can get to kind of strong arm you to be on his side and to get Charlize Theron, he does that. And the one person who ain't even got a house cat, as he says, ain't got nothing to care about, he just shoots that person. So, and I kind of feel like you didn't even have to shoot him. If everybody around here turning, he ain't finna be the Lone Ranger, and he probably would have turned too if you gave him a chance. But we end up having him take the God's Eye from Charlize Theron, and he leaves and tells her goon squad to kill her. But she has something rigged where their guns won't work, and we get a great fight scene where Charlize Theron is literally fighting off her entire goon squad. It was so good, and I feel like it was realistic. She wasn't, like Hobbs and like Vin, and where you just impenetrable. She gets hurt, she gets wounded, and they end up, because y'all know how to look. If you're here, if you're at 5X, I'm gonna presume you here for a reason, and you already know how this goes. You ain't new to this, you true to this. We always have the villains that end up, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and we was enemies, but now we got a common enemy to work against. Charlize Theron pops up at Dom and Letty's house, wounded, telling him about this madman and how he's coming for Dom, and we find out that the whole Rome setup is a setup. And we can't get in touch with the team, so we have to just go there, right? And basically the situation is the family thinks that they are going to heist this chip, but really it's a giant ball that's a bomb. And we got some really good moments here when we're chasing this truck with the bomb in it, and Letty, especially Michelle Rodriguez, had cool ass scene on her bike, y'all. I really just always love the action in these movies. I don't care how unrealistic, how outlandish, it is always a really exciting sequence when they have their action and stuff, and the bike scenes were really good. Now y'all know it's gonna get outlandish. So the bomb is headed for the Vatican, right? And even though Jason Momoa character really irked me, his one-liners and jokes and stuff just weren't hitting for me. He did have inklings of little moments, like when he over there talking about you gonna blow up the Vatican, y'all going to hell, like little stuff that he was saying right there. I was like, man, okay, I'm on board a bit, just a bit with that. But his whole everything he was doing, it was annoying me. And y'all know I love anything over dramatic, over the top, but he just didn't nail it for me. Like I said, it felt very juvenile. So this bomb is rolling and headed towards the Vatican. And one thing I didn't understand was Tej and Masandi were locked in the car, and then all of a sudden they was out the car. When we not the car, but the little truck thing that's carrying the bomb, it flips over. And I really was like, how the hell did they get out of there? The doors was locked. They couldn't, but whatever the hell, y'all, they get out. And Dom is in his car going after the ball. And I thought it was very unrealistic that ball did not run over nan person. Not one person got ran over by this ball, but whatever. So I'm sitting in the theater like, how the hell just driving behind it. Now, we're trying to stop the bomb, but the police comes in and they're coming after us. And what I didn't understand was Letty was on her bike and Dante Reyes was on his bike. But they stopped Letty, and they're literally like right there. They're chasing. She's chasing behind him. They're right there with each other. It's not like he's far away. But the police converge on Letty with no regard for the other guy. Whatever the hell, y'all. I understand why they just didn't just ignore Dante Reyes on his bike when he's right there with her. So at first, I wasn't really thinking about anything with Letty because I was like, we done broke Dom out of prison. We just break Letty out. I'm sure it won't be hard. But Letty doesn't just go to a regular old prison. The agency is after the family with this whole terrorist attack in Rome, and she ends up going to a black site prison off the grid. But Dom is trying to stop this ball and is headed towards the Vatican, but there's a river, right? Y'all, I love this franchise, but even I'd be like, come on now, child, y'all pushing it. There is like a construction crane and Dom flies his car to crash into it so it can, and he just, boy, they got the best aim. They got the best aim because he don't miss it. He right on hits it. It turns to knock the ball into the ocean or into the river. And we still get like mad. That whole explosion, I was like, damn, we got an explosion that big and that ball was in the ocean. So the team is split up here. Letty goes to a black site off the grid prison controlled by the agency. And Tej, what happened to Mr. Not Mr. Nobody. I keep calling him Mr. Nobody because in the previous film, I thought he was becoming a new Mr. Nobody, but Scott Eastwood's character, I don't know his name. I don't think they ever say his name. Scott Eastwood's character gets knocked out of his car. He's also there trying to stop the whole bomb. If memory serves me, we just don't see him no more in the rest of the movie, I don't think. Tej, Roman, Masandi, they all go to London. Roman gets them smuggled, and this was also, like I said, it was humorous moments. I just felt like they didn't need to drag this out for a 2-part. Roman, takes them in the shipping container full of cologne. We get a humorous moment there that I really enjoyed. I feel like Tyrese and Ludacris, they are good actors. I really feel like, they may come from music, but they are genuinely good actors in my opinion. And I feel like Tyrese definitely has a screen presence and a charisma and a charm to him. He is very enjoyable on screen. But the characters of Roman and Tej are just so freaking stagnant. And it irks my nerves. Because we got a growth when Ludacris first was in the franchise in Too Fast and Too Furious, and then when we see him pop up again, I want to say, did he pop up in Fast 5 or did he pop up in 4? Whenever the hell he pops back up, it felt like a change and a growth from the character that we met in Too Fast. And it feels like we're digressing now. The character we met of Roman in Too Fast and Too Furious, and then now the Roman that we have in Fast X, it's like we're regressing. And everything that Tyrese's character was given to work with and do in Too Fast and Too Furious, now the only thing he's given to work with is comedic relief. And it really bugs me. Even though the scenes are enjoyable, it's redundant. We've been here, we've done this, and every time they cut back to that group, it's the same. What they say, dog and pony show. Y'all, what am I thinking of that people say? What is that saying? Now, also what annoyed me with this side plot with this group is the Missandei character is so useless. Y'all, I don't even know her name in the movie. I know every family member name. I do not know Missandei's. I'm just calling her Game of Thrones name because I don't even know her name is in the franchise. I really don't. I can't even remember. I remember everybody's in the family name, the core family, except her. She is so useless, bland, boring. She brings nothing. She adds nothing. She's not comedic relief. She's not muscle. She's not a badass, fighting chick like Michelle Rodriguez's Letty. Yeah, she does tech, but we already got a tech person. We already have Tej. I feel like everybody ain't got to be family, man. They could just be acquaintances. She did not need to be added to the group, especially when did she pop up? Was it Fast? No, when was it that they went on that mission and Paul Walker I think it was 7. Yeah, it was the last one that I had initially seen when Paul Walker passed away. 7. That late in the game, we did not need to change the core group. She brings nothing. Y'all, is it just me? How do y'all feel about Missandei in this? She is just so boring. She brings nothing. She adds nothing. She's useless. I don't know why she here. She was here to bring us, I don't know why she here. Now, while we're over with this group, they end up also going to, Han brings us to Jason Statham, who is always enjoyable. But again, it's just a lot that I just felt like we're dragging this. We're dragging it. But Jason Statham, like I said, is always enjoyable. And we actually get a really good scene here when the agency attacks and Han and Jason Statham are fighting people off. And Jason Statham ends up going off on his own thing because his mom is a target of Dante Reyes. So I'm sure that's going to come into play in part 2, which, like I said, we could just wrap. But I ain't going to be the dead horse. Now, the other part of the group that's separated is Letty and Charlize Theron. Now, y'all, correct me if I'm wrong. I could have sworn they said either in this movie or a previous Fast and the Furious movie that the agency has multiple black site off the grid prisons. How Letty and Charlize Theron end up in the same exact prison, whatever the hell, but they end up in the same prison, and we get the guy from Reacher. Y'all, his tan was giving blackface. I don't care. I'm sorry. It was. His tan was giving that episode of Seinfeld, the only time Kramer ever dated a black woman so they could do this blackface joke. Kramer can't get any sleep. He's restless. He looked ragged and tired because the dry cleaner been holding his comforter hostage. So he goes to tan and he falls asleep in a tanning bed. And when he go to meet the black girl family, he giving blackface. That is what the guy from Reacher, the new Mr. Nobody in Fast X, was giving me. He was giving me, I fell asleep in a tanning bed. I will never understand white folk tanning their skin to make it so dark. Like, what are you, bruh. But y'all, outside of that distracting ass blackface tan, I actually really like his character, and I actually really like the actor, and it makes me want to go watch the Reacher TV show because he really carried his role. He was a really good addition to this, but I called it. Literally 5 seconds after the new Mr. Nobody Reacher guy been on screen, I turned to my mom and I said, he working with a bad guy. It was so easy to call. It was so easy. You too eager to flip and just go. We got to go after Dom with we had Mr. Nobody's daughter, who I'm told is Super Marvel. Miss Super Marvel, something like that, y'all. She's a superhero in another movie. I enjoyed her. Very beautiful girl, very talented, but she was another character, like I said, who, when I was talking about Scott Eastwood, who feels like they were just jam-packed in here needlessly, but she was enjoyable. But when we have her and the Reacher guy with his blackface tan having their conversation at the agency, and she's telling him logically, hey, Dom and his crew has worked for us. It's been all these years. Why would they just do that? He's just so gung-ho about going after them. I was like, yeah. He working for the bad guy. And then the switch for him to be on their side, even though Fast and Furious is notorious for people, the villains switching and doing all that, I was like, nah, that's too quick of a switch with no real reason for him to suddenly be on Dom's side. So I was like, yeah. And we found out at the end that, yeah, he was working with her named Dante Reyes the whole time. But when I tell y'all, this don't make no sense. This don't make no sense. So they flash back to Rio, right? And when they're in the police station, we see the Reacher guy with his blackface tan. Now, come on now, baby. It's been 10 years. They tell us it has been 10 years since the Rio job, right? So you mean to tell me that within the span of 10 years, the blackface Reacher guy went from detective in a corrupt police station where it's known that y'all work for this gangster to the head of a secret agency? Nah, bro. Kurt Russell is older. I can buy that he was Mr. Nobody, that he was the head of this ish, that it took him years to get what he. This is not just moving up in the ranks. This is supposed to be a secret government agency. Baby, how in the span of 10 years do you go from detective in a corrupt police department to the head, to the Mr. Nobody in a secret, but whatever the hell, don't ask no questions, just be along for the ride. It's the Fast and the Furious, but I don't buy it. He too young. In the span of 10 years, you get to be the new Mr. Nobody. I'm not. Now, if he was just somebody working for this secret agency, I could buy that a lot more than him being the head of it, than him being the new Mr. Nobody. I don't buy it. He too young. Not in the span of 10 years. Get your blackface ass up out of here. I don't. Let me stop calling it. That actor was not intentionally giving blackface, but baby, he was giving blackface because you was tan as hell. You was what kind of what is you doing, baby? You white. Well, you know what? I don't know his race. So, but he like a white guy to me. Why is you tanning like that? Like, I don't understand. What is you doing, bruh? Anyway, that tan was so distracting, y'all. It was so distracting. So I actually didn't enjoy this part when we got Mr. Nobody's daughter and blackface Reacher guy, and they're talking about the family. They pretty much give a collage on the screen where, well, in the movie they have screens, not like on the movie screen, of like going through the Fast and the Furious movies. And I guess that's helpful if somebody is just now hopping on the train and they're watching Fast X and they've never seen a Fast and the Furious movie. But for me, it just felt redundant, maybe because I just binged the whole franchise. But I was just like, man, again, we wasting time. We could have trying to make this a 2-part. We didn't need all this, but we did get some good moments when the blackface Reacher guy was. I can't stop calling him that because he was giving blackface. He looked tanner than me, child. Okay, so he does have some good lines and stuff in here when he's like they're the family and they become, it's like a cult and people, you know, just come in, and that was good. I can't remember exactly how he says it, but he refers to the family as like a cult and how they pull people in, like, you know, the character of The Rock, his Hobbs character. So it was good moments. Everything was enjoyable. It just felt unnecessary. Like a lot in the movie felt enjoyable but unnecessary. Now the side story with Letty and Charlize Theron in this black site prison. The daughter of Mr. Nobody comes to see Letty after she sees Dom, and she comes to Letty and she shows her in the palm of her hand that cross necklace that is always, you know, a thread throughout these movies with Dom and Letty. And she tells her, the daughter of Mr. Nobody tells Letty, we got to get you out of this, you know, cell. And they do a little fight and she stabs Letty in the shoulder so that she can go to like the medic bay room. And I was confused, like, where are all the prison guards and all the other prisoners? This prison was so empty, but whatever. So as Letty is laying on the table and a little machine robot thing is fixing her up, right next to her is Charlize Theron. And Charlize Theron is able to use her tech savvy smarts and stuff, and she's able to get them out of there where they're like, cuffed down, and she goes to break them out, which this plays into why I've also felt like Tej and Masani them was useless, because y'all the tech people, y'all can't figure nothing tech savvy out. Yeah, they was trying to trace where their money went, but it just felt very useless. And I was like, why they not using a brain and tech savvy and smarts that they're supposed to have as characters the way that Charlize Theron is? But anyway, another useless scene. Charlize Theron is trying to break out and bring Letty with her, right? And Letty decides it's a good idea to just randomly fight. Now, I get she killed little Brian mama and she made Dom go against the family and blah, blah, blah. Baby, fight her when we escape. Like, I need to escape. I need to be out of here. That should be your sole focus. If it's so important to you to get to Dom, to get to little Brian, I'm not stopping to have a fight. And also, it felt useless because it was a very lackluster scene. And I love a chick fight. I love a chick fight. Letty fighting my girl Gina Carrero in the previous Fast movie. Now that was a chick fight. That was a good fight. This fight with her and Charlize Theron, it was a letdown. So it was like, okay, y'all threw this dumb asinine moment in just for them to fight, but didn't even give us an exciting fight. So this was another moment where the scene cuts in a weird way from one subplot to another. They fight. Letty goes, like, we're trying to escape, and they like cut, and then we come back, and Letty goes to open the hatch to get out, and we're in the middle of Antarctica, and she's like, oh, well, guess I'm not going nowhere. She goes back down. And it's like, it doesn't have the intended impact because y'all ripped us out of the moment and then threw us back in an awkward, moment when it comes to the flow of the scene. And somehow, some way, from somewhere, Charlize Theron has coats and boots for her and Letty. And we end up, when they wrap up this little subplot, will wrap up for this movie, Letty and Charlize Theron are out in the snow, and Han's girlfriend that died some movies ago is in Charlize Theron's submarine. Yo, we already really ain't getting no real explanation for why Han ass ain't dead. Even though I like Han, I love that character. But come on now, child. Not Han girlfriend. I can't wait to see how they're going to explain this. Because she fell out the damn sky. And even if she survived, where has she been all this time that her boyfriend been grieving her? And I was confused, like, wait, so she working for Charlize Theron? Because ain't that Charlize Theron sub from the previous movie? Y'all, what the hell is going on here now? I was like, wait, what? Now, child, look, I be suspending a lot of damn belief. And I don't have no, I suspend, and I be letting a lot of it slide, but I was like, child, this don't make no sense. This don't make no damn sense. Where she come from? Where she been? How she survived? She working for, how she know Charlize Theron? Whatever the hell. So that's how that like ends. And if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there was just the end of the movie. Like, the movie just ends abruptly. And I was so annoyed. I was like, what the hell? Because like I said, going into this, I did not know it was going to be a two-part. But even if you do a two-part movie, you don't abruptly end it. You can tie some things up and then leave a cliffhanger to get the audience intrigued enough and engaged enough to want to come back for part two. But you don't just abruptly end with, like, I was like, what the hell? How y'all leaving everything, just all the threads unraveled? But whatever the hell. Okay, so let's get back to Vin Diesel. He's off doing his side things throughout the movie, and let's just get to the end, because I was gonna say let's get to like the climax of the movie, but the movie, we don't even really get a climactic, like it steadily builds, which the pacing is off because of the way they cut from one little side story and jump to another. But we get to the moment where Dom is in Rio, we have a car race. And you know what? I'm confused why people keep griping about what happened to car race. They don't car race. Every single solitary movie, they have a race, or they have something where they go to that underground racing scene. Like when Dom brings Letty, because she don't have no memory, to the street race thingy that he says they made. Every single Fast and the Furious movie has something with some type of race. Y'all, what are y'all talking about? It's in every single solitary Fast and the Furious movie. Okay, so Dom is in Rio, and he goes to do a street race with Dante, I'm about to call him his daddy name, Dante Reyes. And of course, it's not going to just be a race. Now, Dante Reyes, a random girl we're just meeting in this movie, and the guy we saw in the previous movie, they all four of them are racing, right? And I could not stand the way Jason Momoa was acting in this scene. It irked me. I'm telling you, it's like an annoying little sibling who don't know when to stop playing. That's what it feels like. That's what it was giving me. But anyway, the whole premise of this thing that he sets up, that Dante Reyes sets up for this race, is Dom has to choose who to save. And I was off rip thinking, well, he don't know that girl. He finna save the guy he know. But the car blows up, that guy gets killed, and he goes to try to save the girl, who turns out to be the sister of Little Brian. The sister of Little Brian. The sister of Little Brian's mom. I can't remember. Elena, that was her name. I couldn't remember at first. She turns out to be Elena's sister. And I didn't think it made any sense when Dom leaves Rio. He leaves Elena's sister just in her house, and he just goes. And I'm sitting here like, Dante Reyes know everything, bruh. He pops up everywhere. Why? And he's from Rio, just like Elena and her sister. Why would he not know this is your son's aunt? That didn't make any sense to me that Dom just left her there. But when Dom leaves, we see the blackface Reacher guy, but he gets accosted by some people trying to like rob him, so he loses Dom, but he ends up apprehending Dom. Dom goes with him, and we end up on that same bridge from Fast 5 with Dante Reyes attacking the caravan that's carrying Dom, and this is when we get the sudden switch, because the audience we just don't know what's happening. We just believe it, that the blackface Reacher guy is just, I'm with you now, Dom. Let's go save your son. So Mr. Nobody's daughter is also on the bridge. She gets shot, and you know what? The blackface Reacher guy got shot too, but it was like his vest, so he was just fine. And Elena's sister, Dom saves her, and she gets Mr. Nobody's daughter. They're supposed to be going to the hospital, and the new Mr. Nobody, Reacher guy, is taking Dom to go get his son. We're in a helicopter, in a plane, and of course Dom drives his car out of the plane. It's so much stuff that happens in this movie that's just so unbelievable but enjoyable. Baby, Dom lifts a car with one arm. I could barely move my sofa from one part of the living room to the other. When you're trying to rearrange to get a new little flow, I could barely move my damn sofa. And Dom is lifting the car with one arm, but whatever the hell. And that's another thing that was a negative for me with this movie, was Vin Diesel. And man, I used to be so on board. I used to love Vin Diesel. Pitch Black is still one of my favorite movies ever. I absolutely love Pitch Black. Vin Diesel. And not even just Vin Diesel, the character of Dom, the way that I said the characters of Tej and Roman feel stagnant, Dom does as well. It's to the point of being obnoxious now, how just impenetrable the character of Dom is. It's more than just unrealistic. It's obnoxious. And Vin Diesel was terrible in this. Vin Diesel isn't like, he ain't no Denzel. He's not one of those like actors, but he's a good actor. He's decent enough. He's enjoyable. But in this, he was so terrible. I understand the emotion a character is supposed to be giving in this situation. You can give more than just a growl and a scowl and gruff in your voice. He had the same like 3 facial expressions the whole movie. He looked constipated. No, Vin, baby, Vin, I love you, bro. Vin, baby, this ain't it. His character, the acting, it was so distracting. Like, it was really bad. It was really annoying. And I need the character of Dom to have some kind of growth. I need something to happen with that character. We already know there's a certain element that's missing because there are no stakes for this family. We know everybody gonna come out unscathed, and even if they die, child, they're gonna be resurrected like Jesus Christ himself. But you can still give us something tangible to relate to when it comes to this character. We don't have that. Nothing. Not at all. So Dom basically he flies his car out the plane. But you know what, let me jump back a bit. Uncle John Cena and Little Brian are at the meeting spot and they get attacked, and we end up jumping out into this car that Uncle John Cena has been working on, and we're driving and we're along the highway, and Dante Reyes is in his car coming after us. Then, Dom is also in his car. He comes alongside his brother and his son, tells him to follow him because the blackface Reacher guy is in his helicopter telling Dom where to go and to get off at a certain exit. And the whole jumping from one speeding car to the other, look, take out everything you would critique about that. My annoyance and critique with it at this point is we've seen it enough. We have seen it enough. We had Masandi do it in one of the previous movies. Of course, we know the big one is when Letty did it going into Dom's car. And now Little Brian does it, jumping from Dante Reyes' car to his dad's car. We've done that one move enough. Literally, we've done that one move enough. Now, I did jump ahead with that, but that annoyed me so bad just because we've seen that enough. But we're in the car and we have these like missile thingies that Uncle John Cena has on the side of his car. And y'all, you hit this button and the missile goes and blows somebody up. Why Uncle John Cena had Lil Brian hitting the button? Lil Brian was killing people! I was like, what? Y'all, the 10-year-old, I think he was about 10, I don't know, 8, 9, 10. The child was killing people, and they was in the car laughing. That's not disturbing. I'm not letting my child nephew kill people. You don't hit the button, bro. You're hitting a button that's shooting out a little rocket that's blowing niggas up. That was insane. Y'all, is Lil Brian gonna get any counseling for this? This was crazy. He was killing people. But anyway, one of the little missile thingies gets stuck, so Little Brian climbs out of the car to get it fixed, and somehow on the open road, he don't notice a loud ass car coming up right alongside their car, and Dante Reyes is literally able to just reach his hand out and just grab Little Brian and pull him into his car. Y'all, for real, that was so easy. Whatever the hell. So he has Little Brian, and Dom is able to take his car and like hit Dante Reyes' car, and we're spinning at high speed. And even though I could barely skip jumping downstairs without breaking my ankle, Little Brian is able to have the coordination to effectively jump out of one speeding, twirling car into the other. And Uncle John Cena sacrifices himself and blows himself up. But y'all, Don't fret, okay? Fret not. He gonna rise like Jesus Christ. Like I'm telling y'all, everybody comes back from the dead. Who has stayed dead? You know what? One person has stayed dead. The guy, oh shoot, I'm mad. I gotta find his name. The guy from the very first Fast and the Furious who popped back up and like, did he pop up in Fast 5? I think he popped up in Fast 5 because he popped up in Rio. I gotta find his name. I got to. I don't know what this actor did to not get resurrected, but he is the only person that did not come back. Vince is the only person that has not come back from the dead. And everybody got like blown up, dropped out of the sky, and they came back to life. Vince just got shot. So it's actually more believable to survive getting shot. But his character don't come back. But niggas get blown up and dropped out of the sky and they come back to life. And even Jason Statham like crumbled under like rubble and he ain't died. But Vince just got shot. I don't know what that actor did, bro. But they didn't call him back. Now, and I'm not going to count Jesse. Jesse got killed in the first movie. That was before we was resurrecting niggas, rising them from the dead. But Vince popped up in Fast 5. He didn't die till Fast 5. So, I don't know why he wasn't resurrected. But I guarantee y'all, Uncle John Cena going to be back. I don't know how they going to do it. They don't know how to, they don't even care. Baby, they didn't really give us a real reason why Han is alive. They just said, look, y'all, we want to bring him back. So, he here. Now, something else that irked me about the Dante Reyes villain is something that just irks me in general. I cannot stand when every single solitary plan of a villain goes off without a hitch. I cannot stand that. That irks me more than Tyrese and Ludacris going to space. Like that unrealisticness of every single plan going off without a hitch, that bugs me more than all the unrealistic stunts they pull. Because I don't care how long you have planned. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how competent you are. Every single solitary plan going off without a hitch is unbelievable. Period. It doesn't happen. I don't care what kind of contingency plans you have. It doesn't go down like that. Blackface Jack Reacher guy is telling Dom to get off at this exit, right? When he gets off at this exit, that's when it's the whole wahaha reveal that he's actually working for Dante Reyes, which everybody should have been able to call. So we wanted Dom and his son at this spot. He had to get off at this exit. But the way the movie plays out, it makes you feel like, oh, let's say Dom didn't get off on that exit. Dante Reyes would have had another setup waiting for him if he didn't get off. No! And I get it. Folks can be predictable. Dom is very predictable. Baby, I'm predictable. I used to hate when people call me predictable, but it's just the truth. I am. I'm very predictable. Even with people being predictable, even with you being a freaking mastermind, every single solitary plan will not go off without a hitch, period. And contingency plans, whatever, it doesn't happen. And the way the movie goes, it makes you feel like, because they want to get Dom and Little Brian to this spot. We get off on this exit, we're at this spot. And the whole setup is the two trucks are going to ram and kill Dom. Well, somehow, Dante Reyes is able to say, you know what, when we make this plan, what if Dom decides to drive off the damn, then we're going to just blow it up. No! You mean to tell me if Dom hadn't taken this exit, y'all are masterminding it where he would have had a whole nother setup for him, even if he ain't take the exit. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So Dom is on the bridge, the dam, and he decides to just drive down the dam. And it's always crazy to me when they be driving down mountains and stuff, because I could feel like you supposed to be, but they just be, well, whatever the hell. And then they finally do crash, and Dom and Lil Brian get out unscathed, and we have these bombs on the dam. So we took the time. Why we ain't just blow the dam in the first place then? When Dom is sitting on top of the dam and you got the two trucks, why ram the trucks? Blow the dam. Just blow it then. He's sitting right up top. Blow it. But the movie cuts and I was so pissed off. I had no idea there was a part 2. And I was like, wait, what? Y'all, I was in that theater so pissed off. I cannot stand an abrupt ending. Like I like for a movie to end and it feels like an end. You don't even necessarily, like I said, it's a part 2, so you don't necessarily have to give me a complete conclusion, but you need to, fix a few threads and not leave them all unraveled and give me a cliffhanger to, come in for the next one. But you don't just stop everything right in its tracks. So we also get a post-credit scene. And y'all, am I crazy? So the post-credit scene is with Hobbs. Now, am I crazy? Because I feel like in Hobbs and Shaw movie, when we get to the end of that movie and that voice is talking and it says, Hobbs, we're going to have a reunion. You don't remember who I am. Y'all, was that Jason Momoa's voice? Was that Dante Reyes? I feel like that was Dante Reyes. So I'm presuming part 2, of course, we got to wrap up everything with the family, but I feel like it's also going to include Dante Reyes and versus Hobbs, who actually pulled the trigger and killed his father. Dom didn't kill his father. They just did the heist. But Hobbs actually pulled the trigger, which I actually feel like this is kind of backwards. Okay, let me finish one thought. So I feel like part 2 is going to be I keep saying his name. It's going to be Dante Reyes versus Jason Statham, because his mom, and versus Hobbs because he's the one actually pulled the trigger. Now, to the other thought I was finna jump to, I feel like the whole making Dom suffer piece by piece, not just killing him, that should have been reserved for Hobbs. Hobbs actually murdered your father. Dom just stole. Dom just stole from him. That was it. Dom ain't kill him. How you doing more damage to the person that stole than the person that killed? I don't understand. But anyway, look, it's a lot of stuff I could have nitpicked about as far as the stunts, as far as stuff being unbelievable and stuff like that. But it's a Fast and the Furious movie, so I'm not even going to really nitpick that stuff because this far into the game, we know what it is. If you in the theater and you watching Fast X, you already know what it is. So we ain't even going to harp on all of that. That would be a long ass video if I did that. But even though for me this movie was pretty flawed, overall I actually really enjoyed this. I feel like it was very entertaining. Even though the story gets convoluted, I actually feel like we get one of the more cohesive stories. And I know that's contradictory, but the way these movies have gone the past few with the narrative, really narratively, I feel like it would have made more sense to stop the franchise at 7. That was a worthwhile and good place to stop. And everywhere else we go, it's just rehashing, redoing, going off on stuff that don't even really make any sense story-wise. But the story we get here, just a typical story of revenge for me, is one of the just most cohesive and makes the most sense. And I say that because of how they tie into Fast 5 in a way that doesn't undo what we already know to be true and what we already saw, but comes in a way that makes sense. And if we just didn't scatter and do all that weird side stuff, it would have been the most cohesive. It still gets a bit convoluted, but it's still, even though the characters are getting a bit redundant and stagnant and I want to say played out, there's still a certain charm to the family and to the characters. And I feel like I would give this a solid 5 out of 10. It is definitely just an average, enjoyable time at the movie theater. It didn't suck. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was was good. I was engaged. I was not bored at one point. I wasn't bored, even though once I got to the end and I found out it was a 2-part, I did feel like it was stuff that could have been cut out and felt like they dragged it. But even things that I felt like could have been cut just to conclude and wrap things up, I still enjoyed the moments that I felt like they could have cut out. And just a few final thoughts as well, because I just looked at my notes and I saw some stuff that I forgot to mention. Loved Charlize Theron's hair. Hated Michelle Rodriguez's hair. Michelle's hair looked a lot better in Fast 9. But also, I had put in my notes, I feel like the movie would be a lot more enjoyable if they didn't take themselves so seriously, especially Vin Diesel. His character is way too one-dimensional for how serious he takes this. Like, I feel like that's why I say I'll give it to Jason Momoa for his approach to the character. He didn't take it so seriously. He understood the assignment of what he was in. And if Vin Diesel would take some of that and not the characteristics of the character, but just the concept of understanding the world that he's in with the Fast and the Furious franchise. And if the movie just didn't take itself so seriously, I feel like that would up the enjoyment of the movie. You have Vin Diesel acting like he's trying to give an Oscar performance, and it's like, bro, do you know what movie you're in? Do you know what you're doing? He's giving all these scowls, and it's too much, and it's too over the top, and not over the top in a good way, but over the top in a bad acting kind of way. Like, tone down the gruff. Stop taking this one-dimensional, indestructible, inhuman, superhuman characters so seriously, and just dial it back a bit. Even with the performances of Tej and Roman, it doesn't feel like they're taking it too seriously, but then he's taking it very serious, child. And I also understand why we don't have Brian's character in here, obviously, but it makes a huge plot issue when Dante Reyes is not interested in going after Brian and Mia in the slightest. The agency goes to get Mia and little Brian, but Dante Reyes, they're not on his radar at all. And he seems to be solely focused on Dom, not even really focused on the team. He's only focused on the team as a tool to hurt Dom. Because the whole thing he gets from his dad is, you don't kill somebody, you make them suffer. So for me, Dom and Brian were like the leaders of this whole team. They pulled this heist off. They pulled the safes out. It doesn't make sense to me story-wise if we're flashing back to a motive from Fast 5, the events of Fast 5. It doesn't make any sense to me that he would not be just as focused on Brian as he is focused on Dom, especially the fact that he got the guy's eye. If you have the guy's eye, we know from previous movies, you can literally find anybody anywhere in the world at the drop of a dime. And the whole story they give us for Brian's absence on screen is he's out of this life, he's off taking care of the kids, right? Which even if he out of this life, off taking care of the kids, it don't make sense why he ain't at the family barbecue. And I get they don't want to do anything distasteful as far as Paul Walker, but it just doesn't make any sense when it comes to the story that we get. If I'm a madman out for revenge and I have the guy's eye, I'm going to immediately track down Brian and blow his ass up. Send a drone or something. I'm going to immediately find the rest of the team, blow them up. It hurt the narrative for me to not have Brian included in the revenge plot, to not have, Dante steals the guy's eye, but he never really utilizes it. And I guess you could say he utilized it. That's how he found little Brian and Uncle Cena. But outside of that, he doesn't utilize the guy's eye. He doesn't utilize it to track where Letty is in that off-site prison. He doesn't utilize it to even follow Mr. Nobody's daughter, who she's going to these black site prisons where he can use that he uses their money to hire people and get stuff done. He steals Charlize Theron folks. He could have used the guy's eye to follow old girl to these black site prisons and get equipment and all kind of, I don't know, it's stuff he could have done in utilizing the guy's eye that he never does. He should have a vendetta against Brian just as heavy as he has a vendetta against Dom. And I get in real life why Brian isn't included, but in the world of the movie, it doesn't make sense why Brian isn't included. Let me know in the comments, how did you feel about Fast X? Are you a fan of the Fast and the Furious franchise? Because I am. And I will be ranking the entire Fast and the Furious franchise, including Fast X. See you in the next one. Thank you.